Imagine standing on the throat of the whirl. That biting wind cuts right through you, doesn't it? Sharp as a dragon's claw's nose stings your cheeks below. Skyrim sprawls out wild and ancient, and above you, perched on those weathered stones, rests Paarthurnax, ancient, immense, serene, yet cold within that immense frame. Beneath, scales hardened by millennia, rages a war against his very soul, his very blood. You feel it radiating from him, that tension. That's the heart of him, Dragonborn, that struggle. Think back, way back, before the Greybeards, before Irothgar scraped the sky, before mortals clawed their way to freedom, back when Alduin, the World-Eater, cast his shadow over all Nirn. His shook mountains into dust, his wings blotted out the sun. And beside him not just any dragon, his brother, his chief lieutenant Paarthurnax. Enforcing Alduin's dominion wasn't just duty, was nature. The Dova soul burns with an unquenchable fire. The Thu'um, his bow of awe and undeniable conquest, his breath domination, his instinct to challenge Alduin, to defy the natural order. For a dragon was unthinkable anathema. Imagine the sheer crushing weight of that biological imperative, the roar in the blood demanding submission to the strongest. Paarthurnax enforced Alduin's tyranny with the same ruthless precision of Volf hunts dear mortals. They were prey last and prey dust beneath his wings, the screams of ancient Nords. They were just wind whistling through the valleys to him then. That was the world, that was the way of things, that was Dova. But something shifted deep within that draconic heart. Amidst the fire and the urge to dominate, a dissonant note sounded. Perhaps it was the sheer wanton cruelty of Alduin's rule, not just domination, but annihilation. Perhaps it was the flickering defiance of the Nords, so small yet so fierce. Perhaps it was a whisper carried on a different kind of wind, a wind touched by Kine herself. We can only grasp at shadows. But the impossible happened. Paarthurnax looked upon his brother, his god-king, and saw tyranny, not order, but oblivion. The fire of rebellion, cold and terrifying, ignited against the furnace of his nature. The betrayal wasn't just political, it was a rending of his very being. Choosing mortals, choosing mercy, choosing kind, was a heresy written in his own blood, yet he chose it. He turned his Thu'um against Alduin, whispering secrets to the fledgling tongues, teaching them the very weapon that could wound his kin. Imagine the agony of that first shot against his own brother, the tearing sensation in his soul. That was the first brutal step on a path soaked in millennia of repentance. Where does a dragon who betrayed his god-king go? Where can such a creature find peace when its own nature screams for violence? He sought the highest peak, the throat of the world, the place kissed by the bones of time itself. Here, amidst the eternal snows and the howling gale, Paarthurnax began a journey far harder than any battle. He founded the Greybeards, Dragonborn, not warriors, but monks. Their weapon, the voice, yes, but wielded not for domination, but for understanding, for peace. The way of the voice. Think of the sheer staggering willpower that demanded centuries, bled into millennia. He perched beside the time wound, at scar and reality itself, not just watching eras turn, but meditating, breathing, focusing. Every single moment, every single breath was a battle against the dragon fire within. Crane, Devadian ambition, Dragonborn. That question isn't academic, it's ripped from his core. He knows ambition's seductive, destructive heat intimately. His the furnace he fights daily. His claws dig into the ancient stone, not just for grip, but to anchor himself against the tide of instinct, screaming to take, to rule, to dominate. He speaks of your mortal morality not as theory, but as the lifeline he clings to. Overcoming one's nature isn't a victory, he teaches, is a practice, a relentless daily struggle. Wisdom isn't found in conquest, but in the quiet, exhausting effort to master the storm. Within the peace, he radiates its hard wind, forged in the crucible of endless internal war. You hear it in his voice, Dragonborn, that deep rumbling calm layered over an ocean of contained fire. Then you arrive, Dragonborn, a force of nature wrapped in mortal flesh, destiny walking, and he saw hope, and perhaps a terrible reckoning. He didn't hide, he offered ancient knowledge freely, the cursed shout, dragonrend, born of mortal hatred, a concept utterly alien yet vital, the secrets of the elder scrolls. He guided you towards Alduin's defeat, participating in the destruction of his own brother, fulfilling a betrayal. Millennia in the making, he became your mentor, sharing hard-earned wisdom on the throat of the world, the wind carrying his words like ancient promises. You felt the weight of his presence, the immense age, the fierce intelligence. You saw the dragon who helped save the world. But the past is a ghost with sharp claws. Delphine Espern, the blades remember their fury, their righteous anger. They see only the shadow of Alduin's lieutenant. They see the dragon who scorched villages, who shattered armies, who enforced a reign of terror, millennia of meditation, a dragon's repentance meaningless. To them justice they cry, unforgivable crimes demand execution. They force the terrible choice upon you, Dragonborn. Stand with the ancient mentor who guided your hand against the world eater, or deliver the blade of justice for atrocities committed on the world was young. It's a choice that cuts deeper and any dragon's claw. Kill Paarthurnax, and you silence a unique wisdom, betraying the guide who helped you save Skyrim. Spare him, and you deny justice to countless nameless dead, turning your back on the blade's oath. There's no middle path, no easy answer, only the crushing weight of history and the echo of ancient screams against the howling wind of the summit. And then silence. The game leaves his fate hanging suspended like the mist on high Hrothgar. Did the Dragonborn strike him down? Did they walk away, leaving the ancient one to his eternal vigil? Canon doesn't say it's your choice, echoing through the ages. That ambiguity is his legacy. Paarthurnax, perch forever on that precipice, embodies Tamriel's deepest truths. Redemption isn't granted, it's clawed for day after agonizing day. Free will isn't freedom from nature, that the brutal, beautiful fight against its chains. Change is possible even for beings forged in fire and domination, even for gods, even for monsters. He is the dragon who defied his god, his brother, and ultimately himself. He proves that Dova can be more than engines of destruction. They can seek wisdom, they can choose peace, they can fight the fire in their blood. His existence, either ended by your hand or enduring through the ages, whispers a profound challenge to the simple tales. Look at him, Dragonborn, truly look. See not just the scales and the wings, but the millennia of struggle etched into his being. He is the storm master. He is the betrayal that became salvation. He is the living question. Can we overcome what we are? And the answer, breath on the wind of the highest peak, is a single thunderous word. Strive out of Vaki, and the cold wind bites high on the throat of the world. Doesn't it like the teeth of ghosts? Stand with me a moment, listen the stones hear. Remember ancient thunder, a roaring that shook the very roots of Nirn. They remember him, Paarthurnax, a name heavy as dragon bone, laden with ash and remorse, and something else, something fragile. Hope. Let us breathe the thin air and consider the betrayer who became our guide. Look back to Vaki, and look back through the skeins of time, before the Greybeards, before the whispers of kine, before any of us drew breath. There was Alduin the World-Eater, mighty, terrible, absolute, and at his right claw Paarthurnax, not just any servant, but his brother, his chief lieutenant. You must see it, imagine the dread shadow of two vast wings blots out the sun over the snowy peaks below. Tiny mortals scream, running like ants across the ice. Their thume shatters mountain sides. Their fire consumes villages built for generations. Paarthurnax, the lieutenant, enforces the natural order. Dominant submission, might makes right, that roaring instinct, the burning in the gullet, demanding mastery over all. That is the soul of a dragon. It is written in their blood, etched upon their mighty bones, to defy Alduin, to defy one's own core nature. It was unthinkable, like a flame refusing to burn, utterly alien. Yet a whisper started, a cold wind blowing against the firestorm of his being. Centuries of watching Alduin's journey, not conquest, but cruelty beyond mere rule. A weariness seeped into his ancient bones. Was this all dragons were? Eternal slavers, bringers of endless winter. Kind's voice carried on the frigid gale thoughts. That weary place, perhaps. Mortals bore more than just fear, perhaps. They held potential, an ember spark, fragile and terrifying. The most profound betrayal began not against Alduin alone, but against the very essence of what it meant to be Dova. Paarthurnax chose mortals. He chose the fledgling tongues, taught them shouts, gave them the weapons to turn against their masters, against his own kind, against his brother. The World-Eater must have felt the sting of that blade sharper than any dragonrend. After the world-shattering roar, silence, retreat. High Hrothgar mountains scrape the belly of the sky, a place of aching solitude. See the monastery rise, stone by laborious stone, the Greybeards, children of Kind's grace, and their master, that ancient shadow from the age of burning skies. He withdrew, not just physically, but spiritually. He sought the time wound, that scar on Nirn's flesh. Why? Because the turmoil within him raged fiercer than any storm. That dragon nature, the crane Devakian, the ambition, the hunger for domination, didn't vanish. It coiled inside him, a serpent forever whispering, this is yours. Take rule, dominate. Each dawn brought that burning temptation. Each meditation was a battle fought on the precipice of his soul. Centuries, millennia, he sat on snow-swept stone, practicing Akron discipline, the way of the voice, not as a weapon of conquest, but a tool of understanding, of peace. Imagine the eternal struggle, the urge to roar and scorch a village below, silenced by deliberate, painful breath. What is better, to be born good, or to overcome your evil nature through great effort? That question wasn't merely for you, it was the crucible in which he forged his slow, agonizing redemption. Your mortal concepts, forgiveness, choice, restraint, these became his shield against the fire within. Then you came, dragonborn, fate walking in mortal skin, the prophesied storm. He felt it, didn't he? The tremor in the bones of the world. He saw your potential flickering, dangerous and bright, a tool, a threat. The echo of old battles stirred, yet the old dragon chose guidance. He poured ancient secrets into your understanding, dragonrend. That cruel shout, he taught you its nature, its bitter necessity. He pointed the way to the Elder Scroll, the only key to defeating Alduin, his brother. Think on that sacrifice, providing the very weapon needed to slay Isken, not out of hatred perhaps, but necessity, out of the fragile peace head carved over millennia. He offered his hard-won wisdom freely. Did you feel the ancient weight of sorrow behind his words? But the past has long claws, doesn't it? The blades emerged from history's shadows, Delphine, Esprin, relics of a time drowned in dragon fire and blood. They see the ancient lieutenant, the monster who burned their ancestors, who enforced Alduin's despotism, a monster who deserves only retribution. And you taste their bitterness their righteous fury etched in every word. How can centuries of sitting on a mountain erase oceans of blood spilled? How can contemplation absolve screams echoing through time? They stare at you demanding justice, payment. Do slay the dragon they call traitor. He was kind, and to mortals they call it penance for old crimes. It is a stark choice laid before you, executioner, to the ancient mentor or grateful shield, protecting the soul forged in millennia of struggle. That axe you carry it weighs more than steel in that moment, friend or benefactor, justice or mercy. And so Devakian we stand in the Snowladen silent. After the world-eaters fall, the summit feels different, emptier, fuller. The gray arch of sky holds its breath. Paarthurnax fate, it rests within your palm. Does the blade fall, silencing his eternal struggle? In a spray of ancient blood the blades cheer justice served, or does the cold wind continue to carry his gravelly rumble across high Hrothgar? Does he remain a vigilant shadow against himself, a mentor? The future Greybeards' canon offers us no easy answer, only your choice. That uncertainty hangs heavy like mountain mist, perhaps. That is his ultimate lesson. For all of Tamriel, Paarthurnax stands as this impossible thing, a living paradox, a dragon who embraced the burden of mortal concepts like morality and choice, proof writ large in scale, and fire that changed, terrifying, difficult change is possible. Even for creatures born of domination and flame, he challenges the simplest tales. Heroes, pure monsters, irredeemable. Within his vast scaled form rages the fight we all know intimately, the battle between what we are born to and what we choose to become, between rage and restraint, between destruction and the quiet strength of endurance. His existence whispers of fragile, dangerous hope even into the dark hearts of Dova. Perhaps you could choose differently. Could it be possible? Could even the children of Akatosh learn a new song? Consider it as you descend the 7,000 steps. That thunderous roar it fades, that sometimes carry on the highest gales, almost like speech, almost like wind on ancient stones. You might hear the faint, determined echo of Kogan Mill, peace eternal, forever sought, forever a battle. What will your world remember of the betrayer, the savior, the teacher, or simply the hope struggling against the inevitability of fire? Okay, let's talk about Paarthurnax, that moment on the throat of the world, the wind biting cold, the world spread out below, and him ancient, powerful, calm. He gives you the final shout, the key to defeating Alduin, and then Delphine's ultimatum echoes in your mind: kill him or lose the blades forever. It's not just a quest marker blinking, it feels like a weight settling onto your shoulders. Skyrim throws choices at you constantly, but this cuts deeper. It's the game holding up a mirror and asking, what do you really believe? The case for execution, justice demands vengeance. Listen to Delphine, listen to Espern. Their voices crackle with centuries of inherited fury. Is not just anger, is the raw, unhealed wound of the dragon war. Paarthurnax wasn't just any dragon serving Alduin. He was the right hand of the world eater. Think about the scorched earth, the shattered cities, the screams swallowed by dragon fire. Think about entire bloodlines wiped out, cultures enslaved under draconic rule. He orchestrated genocide. He enforced Alduin's tyranny, the sheer scale of suffering inflicted. Delphine calls it unforgivable. She's right. Can millennia of sitting on a mountain meditating truly balance the scales for oceans of blood spilled? Is peace earned or just convenient? And that's the chilling fear, isn't it, what lurks beneath that calm-wise exterior? He is a dragon. His nature is domination. His instincts scream conquest. Alduin's shadow kept those instincts chained. Now Alduin is gone. What stops the old urges from resurfacing. What guarantee do you have that this peaceful mentor won't one day decide the time for philosophy is over, that the dove should rule once more? Dragons follow strength. Paarthurnax himself tells you this is continued existence. It's a beacon, a symbol that the mightiest of Alduin's lieutenants walks free. What rebellious dragon wouldn't see that as an opportunity and inspiration? Keeping him alive isn't just risky as potentially lighting the fuse for the next dragon uprising. Then there's the blades, broken, scattered, hunted nearly to extinction. Their purpose, protecting the Dragonborn, slaying dragons, was ripped away by history, by emperors who forgot their duty. Killing Paarthurnax, it's more than eliminating a threat. For them, it's catharsis, it's reclaiming their shattered identity, is proving that the order still means something, that their ancient oath wasn't in vain. Sparing him is the final insult that Dragonborn, siding with the ultimate enemy over the sworn protectors. It severs that bond completely. Justice demands the blade fall, safety demands it, honor or the dead demands it. The case for mercy, redemption over retribution. Now climb the 7,000 steps again. Feel the stillness of High Hrothgar. Listen to Arngir. His voice carries the weight of the mountain itself. Millennia. Paarthurnax has spent thousands of years mastering the way of the voice, not just learning it, but teaching it, guiding generations of Greybeards towards peace, towards understanding. He turned his back on his very nature, fought his own brother, helped mortals overthrow the dragon tyranny. That's not a whim. That's a lifetime's work, an immortal lifetime. Can you look at that legacy, at the quiet wisdom he offers you, and see only the monster he was? Does the man he became count for nothing? Killing him now, it feels like spitting on the very idea of change. If Paarthurnax, Alduin's greatest lieutenant, cannot find redemption after such effort, then who can? What hope is there for anyone? Mercy isn't weakness. Here is acknowledging the staggering power of genuine transformation. Think practically. What does killing him actually gain? Vengeance, a fleeting satisfaction that fades against the enormity of his past crimes. Safety maybe, but lose what? Paarthurnax holds knowledge lost to the ages. Dragonrend, the shout born of mortal hatred that grounded Alduin. He helped the ancient Nords devise it. His understanding of the Elder Scrolls, a dragon lore of the deeper currents of time, it's irreplaceable. He is the last living bridge to that ancient world. Slay him, and you sever that connection forever. What future threat emerges that only his unique understanding could counter? Killing him might feel like justice, but it could be the height of folly, a vital resource destroyed for the sake of principle. And let's be brutally honest about ourselves. You Dragonborn, how many bandits litter the roads because you needed their gold? How many souls have you sent to Sovngarde, or worse, have you bargained with Daedric princes for power, exploited the Thu'um for personal gain? Mortal history is a tapestry woven with conquest, betrayal, and atrocity, repeated endlessly. Are we steeped in that legacy, truly fit to stand atop a mountain and pass eternal judgment on a being who's actively fought against his own evil nature for millennia? Isn't condemning him for ancient war crimes. We commit fresh ones. The purest hypocrisy can mortals who rarely learn from their own bloody past demand a dragon be held to an impossible standard of purity. Consequences unfold. The world shifts with your choice. The throat of the world feels different after a few spared him. Paarthurnax remains a silent guardian perched above the world. The Greybeards offer quiet approval. Their sanctuary remains open, a place of learning. But Delphine Espern, their gone cold fury radiates from their abandoned temple. Their quests vanish, no rebuilding the blades with you, no dragon hunting companions. You chose wisdom over vengeance and lost sworn allies. because of it. Guards might murmur, heard you spared the old dragon bold move, or perhaps can't believe you trust that thing the world knows your choice. If you raised your blade, the silence on the mountain heavier. Paarthurnax is gone, only the wind whistles through where he perched. To Greybeards on Jer's voice carries a deep unspoken sorrow. Their connection to the Dragonborn is irrevocably damaged. Their guidance, and you are truly alone in your mastery of the voice, but the blades they welcome you back as a true leader. Aspern's scholarly fervor reignites, Delphine's harshness softens just slightly into grim satisfaction. They rebuild, they fight dragons. With you their purpose restored by your hand. Guards might say, heard you killed the old dragon. Had to be done, or simply the blades are back. Of the world knows your choice. This choice defines your Dragonborn. Are you the relentless executioner delivering harsh justice no matter the cost? The pragmatic soul valuing knowledge and future security over past sins, or perhaps the idealist believing so fiercely in redemption that you defy ancient hatreds? It's not just about Paarthurnax, it's about who you are in this world. The game doesn't judge you, allowed it just adjusts the consequences. Live quietly in the people you interact with, the factions that embrace or shun you. The very atmosphere of Skyrim's peaks beyond the binary whispers in the lore. Why does this choice resonate so deeply? Because you're unique, Dragonborn, mortal, flesh, dragon, soul. You are kin to Paarthurnax in a way no one else can comprehend. You understand the dragon's nature intimately, the pull of power, the thum resonating in your bones, yet you walk as a mortal bound by mortal morals and mortal lifespans. You alone stand in that impossible space to judge him. It's a profound commentary on the nature of choice in these worlds, the player's agency given terrifying weight. What do the gods think? Kind the goddess who gifted mortals the voice, would she scorn Paarthurnax millennia of teaching her gift peacefully, or see his redemption as the ultimate victory over his nature? Akatosh, the dragon god of time, father of dragons, does he view Paarthurnax's betrayal of Alduin as a sin or a necessary correction? Would fratricide, dragon-killing dragon please him or fill him with sorrow? The lore offers whispers, not answers, leaving us to wonder. And that's the brilliance of it. Bethesda didn't give us an easy out, no hidden third option, no divine decree settling the matter. They let the debate rage. Because Paarthurnax is the question made flesh. Can evil truly be redeemed? Is justice served by death, or by a lifetime of atonement? Where does mercy end and foolishness begin? There is no perfect answer, only the choice heavy with consequence sitting in your hands. It forces you to confront your own beliefs, your own capacity for forgiveness, your own fears. That's why years later we still argue about him. That's why standing on that mountain peak looking into those ancient eyes remains Skyrim's ultimate moral test. It stays with you long after Alduin has gone, long before mortals carve cities into the mountains. The entire world bent under Alduin's shadow. He was first Akatosh's firstborn son, the world eater, the absolute pinnacle of the Dova. To him it was simple primal fact. He was divine. He was God. All Dova were his kin, his commanders. But your mortals were dust beneath his claws, born only to serve and be ruled. His thum shook the foundations of heaven itself, demanding utter submission. His law was the roar, his justice was incineration. You see that terror echoing still in ancient barrows, in the grisly offerings carved onto weathered stones. The dragon cult wasn't just rulers. They were jailers carving prayers into flesh. Human sacrifices fueled Alduin's dominion. Screams silenced by draconic indifference, rebellion. It flickered and it died under torrents of fire and storms of unyielding voice. Whole settlements erased for a whisper of defiance, and Paarthurnax, he was there right beside the World-Eater. His claws were just as sharp, his voice just as devastating. Alduin's vision of perfect draconic rule demanded enforcers, and Paarthurnax was second to none. Oh, he enforced that order, that brutal hierarchy. With terrifying efficiency, he brought fire to the stubborn valleys of men, crushed nascent rebellions before they could truly breathe. He understood the awful weight of domination, the crushing demand of Alduin's. Well, he enacted it. He was Alduin's shadow, cold and undeniable, the monster. He fought later, he bore its scars because he was that monster once. That truth hangs heavy in the thin air of the throat of the world, a harsh wind against the face. But then the scent shifted. From the winds it carried something new, faint, but undeniable mortality mingled with desperation, with nascent power. Kind Kenrith breathed her gift across the snow-choked peaks, the voice not as a weapon given, but as a birthright awakened. Mortals weren't just screaming anymore, they were shouting back, and Paarthurnax felt it, the cracks, not just in the mountains or the sky, but deep within the century-souled edifice of absolute draconic certainty. He saw the tiny fires of defiance, not simply extinguished, but hardening into determination. He saw Alduin's unshakable conviction perhaps shake, or was it his own, at the peak of the world. Paarthurnax made his choice, not a shout of conquest this time, but betrayal, deep, irrevocable betrayal. He looked into the eyes of those desperate, hardened mortals, the first tongues, and gave them the impossible weapon held tight in his father's soul. The concept of death, dragonrend, wasn't just power, was poison, a shattering dissonance, forced down immortal gullies. He taught frail, doomed mortals how to make eternal beings feel their own end, to make a Dova understand in utter agony that their existence wasn't forever, that they could cease. It was the unmaking of Alduin's greatest certainty. That terrible shout echoed into the battlefield. At the peak, Alduin felt the rending tear through his soul, not just pain, but violation, heresy. His own brother wielded the knife. Mortal voices amplified by Paarthurnax. Treason struck with the Elder Scroll, an instrument of time older than dragons. A tempest engulfed Alduin, a maelstrom not of fire and force, but of raw chronological fury and moored screaming, pure draconic outrage. The World-Eater was ripped from his triumphant today and flung across the river of time, banished, betrayed by the Dova he trusted. Both the old edifice of dragon rule shattered with that roar. Mortals crawled out from under the rubble, dragonkind splintered, broken and leaderless. Fracture forever. Time flowed a restless river, thousands of years long. Alduin did not sleep. He smoldered, his rage fester in the void where time lost meaning. Fueled by the taste of betrayal, his burning hunger sharpened revenge upon traitor and mortal alike. He saw destiny denied, his godhead stolen. Mortals, those wretched fleas he had crushed so easily, now ruling what was rightfully his. Disgust curdled the ancient blood. They were insignificant, weak, temporary things infesting the world. He would devour. Approach Sovngarde's hall. Its existence defied his very nature. As enter, his return was not escape, it was reckoning. The dragon cult's memory lingered not as history, but as prophecy awaiting his coronation as inevitable ruler high atop the throat of the world. Another legacy endured. Silent winds howled colder than Alduin's exile. Paarthurnax watched. The solitude was his forge, the harsh wind his constant challenger. the sheer rock face, his meditation the monster. He had been at hand vanished with Alduin's banishment. It coiled within that ancient draconic lust for dominance, the deep-seated belief that to rule was to exist. Every sunrise was a battle, every breath against his own nature felt like claws tearing inside him. His mastery wasn't ascension, but desperate eternal vigilance. His philosophy, jures a frue mortal finiturism, became his anchor. It denied the central tenet Alduin embodied, that raw power was justification, was the sole purpose of existence. Paarthurnax saw purpose in choice, in the struggle against one's own primal core. He studied the kalpas, the turning wheels of time, and saw not Alduin's feast, but cycles of consequence. He chose not to impose order, but to guard the fragile space where mortals might find their own. His legacy wasn't domination, but the quiet offering of understanding, the way of the voice. He aimed to guide stray tongues towards wisdom, not servitude, to teach them the difference between using the voice and being used by it. He offered them the perilous freedom he had carved out for himself. Fire consumed nothing on the summit, only warm ancient stone. The wind taught patience, not fear. This became the unbridgeable gulf. Alduin embracing draconic exaltation. Slothum Aran Hun, da power, his purpose absolute tan. Paarthurnax embracing the agony of choice, the uncertain path of jure. Therefore, when the skies ripped open and the world-eater returned on wings of apocalyptic night, Paarthurnax faced the echo of his own monstrous past. But he couldn't fight Alduin as he was. The time for ancient Dova colliding in the sky was gone. He needed the crucible, the dragonborn mortal soul, immortal dragon spirit kinds, gift in deadly honed union. He saw the dreadful symmetry only a being steep in both worlds could understand, could wield the necessary tools. He taught the dragonborn shouts, not for conquest, but for survival, not to enforce order, but to choose order. Most crucially, he guided them towards dragonrend's bitter power, the unfathomable curse he himself gifted to mortals millennia before. Teaching it again felt like tearing open an unhealed scar, installing the instrument of his brother's potential destruction within the soul chosen to wield it. As the dragonborn ascended the throat for the final confrontation, Paarthurnax witnessed the culmination of all he had set in motion ages past. His words were instruction, yes, but also abdication. He prepared a mortal to succeed where he, as Alduin's brother, forever stained by that blood, ultimately could not to stand facetto face with the firstborn and end his reign without simply replacing him as sovereign, to banish the tyranny forever. His final battle was surrendering that fateful destiny high above the mundane world, within the shifting luminous mist of Sovngarde itself. The ultimate clash shook the hall of valor. Alduin, world-eater, firstborn of Akatosh, confronted not by his brother, but by his paradox, a dragonborn mortal courage, underpinned by Dova soul, untamed voice honed against dragonrend's torturous truth. Alduin, fueled by consuming rage and divine entitlement, faced power incomprehensible to him. Choice freely made, the dragonrend struck, forcing the terrifying comprehension of finiteness onto the inner. Ancient power waned as Alduin's monumental form disintegrated under the dragonborn's thumb, and soared the immense pressure of absolute draconic authority. Splintered mortals weren't merely rebellious prey. They held agency, they held fate. This was the true breaking, not just the dragon, but the idea. If the dragonborn chooses mercy, if Paarthurnax breathes free, that single aging dragon perch forever on the peak becomes a constant, silent testament that the hardest battle is always a war within one's own soul. at the capacity for thought, for doubt, for choosing another path even against one's own deepest nature. That is the true counter to mindless consuming power. Alduin embodied domination. His destiny, Paarthurnax, proved destiny is made by struggle, his continued existence, his presence as a guardian guiding others away from the precipice he himself stood on becomes a quiet light, refusing the ultimate darkness. He is the draconic architect of balance, forever wrestling with the potential architect of tyranny that still dwells inside him. His breath is a constant, subtle reminder that even the echoes of godlike power and choose harmony. He represents the uneasy, necessary equilibrium, the Dovo, who did not devour the world, but who helps it endure. Hear the wind howl against the stones of the throat of the world it speaks of. The cold it speaks of, age it carries echoes of kind's breath. You stand where the mountain breathes, looking out over Skyrim. It is from here the way begins. Do you feel that tremor beneath your boots? That is the weight of the past, my past, the dragon's rule. Alduin, he reigned, supreme power was dominion. The Thuum was a weapon to shatter mountains, to break armies, to enforce silence upon the world. Then came kind, a goddess of the storm, mother of men. She saw the chains forge from Dova tongues. She felt the cries of mortals beneath scale and fire. She rebelled not against the Akatosh, but against the tyranny of his children, against our tyranny. Her gift, the Thuum breathed into mortals, was a rebellion made manifest, a shout to shatter our domination. She declared the voice, the birthright of man, and bare not the sole dominion of dragons. She gave humanity the weapon to fight its oppressors, and she needed an instrument. That is when I broke not just from Alduin, from myself, from the very nature beating within my wings, gold in my throat. Kinds will became my own, or perhaps it always was buried deep beneath scales. And pride, is it not an ultimate tact of kind's defiance to turn one of the oppressors into the teacher of the oppressed? I betrayed Alduin, yes, but I fulfilled kind's design. My defection was not weakness, it was alignment with an older, truer purpose. The gift demanded guidance. Without restraint, power granted to mortals becomes a beast, no different to the dragons they overthrow. Jurgen, Windcaller, Gormlaith, Golden Hilt, Felder, the old, do you hear their names whisper? On this wind they were the first tongues, heroes, wielders of the voice, gifted by kind's defiance. They storm the heavens against Alduin, yet the power nearly consumed them. To Jurgen saw it most clearly. He saw the arrogance, the bloodshed fueled by the Thuum. That is why he journeyed here to this peak, touched by kind's breath. And I taught him not just Cree Lunaus kill leech animate, but Krahalan frost balance cold. I showed him another path, a path kind desired mastery over the self, not dominion over others. We founded the path you call the way of the voice, giving life to those who became the Greybeards, to use the Thuum not as a sword always drawn, but as a vessel for understanding. That is the core kind gifted mortals, the voice to break dragon tyranny. I became her instrument, teaching mortals how to wield this power responsibly, to avoid creating new tyrants. Mortals, they are vulnerable, we dragons. Your domination burns in our fire, it resonates in our shouts. It is the Dova heart. So the path begins with confronting that echo within every Thuum wielder. Credit, that is the word, the daily struggle I wage deep within this ancient heart. Every sunrise brings that urge, the urge to master the lesser, to demand obedience, to roar and be feared. It is a dragon's birthright. You hear it to Dragonborn. You not that loathsome when someone challenges you, the heat rising when power surges. That is the dragon's whisper. Krenti, is not weakness, it is truth, it is the acknowledgement of the fire you must constantly bank. That is why silence is crucial, not mere quiet active silence, stillness in the face of the roar. Listen to the wind, here it tells tales long forgotten, sit here at the time wound. Can you feel the echoes? The past bleeds, you can taste the ozone of Gormlaith's rage, feel the earth's hutter of Felder's triumph. And then the terrible emptiness after Alduin's fall. We sit here, Dragonborn, confronting history's consequences. We see what untamed power unleashes. Conquest becomes ruin's rage. Becomes how victory silence fosters. Patience cools impulse. Only then does true strength, tempered strength, emerge. This leads to the tenets. Force, balance, voice, not separate beads on a string, but intertwined roots of the mountain itself. Zu force your thune can shatter stone at his raw potential, but without balance, cry Dian. It is devastation. Balance tempers force. With wisdom, restraint, with responsibility. Only through this tempering comes the true voice. Strunmaculana, voice of true command, not bared teeth. Strength becomes an offering, a means, not an end. Mastery is control over the inner dragon, allowing the voice to flow with clarity, not compulsion. And then there is you, Devakian fire. My soul, you walk the path, yet your boots tread a strange trail. You wield shout, as I once did. Did I not? You summon storms like Kindstrunbakokamen, dragon specks, unleash fire that consumes. You'll tour, show you are a warrior, like the ancient tongue storming labyrinthian. What need you of Greybeard, isolation of endless hours, wrestling the roar inside you? You are the Thume incarnate, a weapon honed to cut down the world eater. Your path is direct and perilous. You embody Skyrim's ancient ideal, the tongue on the battlefield, the shout that breaks shield walls. I understand it, yet my path asks for more than came. Dragonrend, Jurzaf, rule mortal finite, tame a poison word, hatred given shape. Its syllables are barbs designed to wound Alduin's very nature. To teach it to you it was an agony, not merely a shout. Dragonborn, it is the conceptual opposite of the Dova soul of everything I try to overcome, to force mortality's painful truth upon an immortal. It is a violation woven from mortal suffering and rage, yet I did teach it because a greater horror needed. Confronting Alduin, he was the storm consuming our future. Was it a betrayal of the way? Yes, and necessary evil also. Yes, sometimes Mulas Karov. We must see beyond the immediate purity, the deeper need, the survival of the world. It dictated that unholy necessity. It was a bitter wine Kind's servant had to swallow. Our time together culminates not at Alduin's fall. It culminates on this peak and the Quai. After the world quake, you face the world eater and survive with his fall. The question rises like mist from the valleys. What now, Devakian? What use is the Thume without a world to save? The Greybeards await, I await. Do you walk back into your world, into Skyrim's blood-soaked earth, with the Thume simply an instrument of louder war? Foss becomes the crack before the sword blow. You'll burns villages, or do you see the deeper wisdom? Do you see the path kind late? Do you embrace the discipline that tempers the flame? The choice is yours. It was always yours. Your power is undeniable. Will it bring dram or merely different thunder? This peace I found, it had spread the Greybeards, my children, in spirit. Through Jurgen's path, what became of them? Look below, Skyrim burns with civil war. Ulfric's stormcloak learn whispers of the Thume, yet wields it for conquest, splitting the very land. Kind breath life into the Greybeards. They sit like stones in the river, preserved, untouched, silent. Is that strength, wisdom perhaps? They guard the flame of the way, but isolation has cost them. They did not interfere. On the storm cloak rift tore Skyrim, they did not lift their voices. And the dragon's first return theirs is the purity of the hermit focused inward, and Skyrim remembers the battle cries of his grammars, companions, the shouting warlords, the united tribes, not the silent monks. On the peak the people revere, shout, as weapons they honor. The blood spilled by ancient tongues, to them we greybeards are ghosts, irrelevant, forgotten. I sit atop this peak, breathing kind's frost, as the rift runs deep beneath me, and yet, so faint it is a spark in this blizzard. If the choice falls upon mercy, if this old Dova lives, then perhaps I can turn my attention beyond Skyrim's peaks, not to rule never again, to rule, but to teach like I taught Jurgen, like I tried to teach you. Other Dova survived the ancient fall, others fly still, souls of flame minds echoing with Alduin's pride. They know only dominion. What if they see one of their own masters choosing another path, choosing Krentid and Drem? But I guide them, show them kind's deeper gift, the gift not just for mortals, but possibly of mortals' coexistence. It tastes alien and possible, but so did flying want, so did mortals wielding the Thuum that shaped, learn the way of the Thuum. Dragonborn, it transcends mere breath and syllable. It is kind's legacy. It is constant struggle against the fire within. It is the terrifying power to unmake worlds, and the terrifying responsibility to choose wisdom instead, to choose silence over the roar, balance over force, to choose the true voice. That choice echoes far louder than any Thuum. It begins here on this frostless stone, where the wind speaks kind's name, and the silence teaches its own thunder. Listen, Devaki and Fodden, Zu, Hen, Eni, Paarthurnax, entire history from Dragon War to Skyrim. All right, let's walk the ancient paths, let's trace the long, long life of Paarthurnax, brother to Alduin, son of Akatosh, traitor, teacher, guardian, philosopher. His story etched into the very bones of Tamriel, into the throat of the world itself. Listen, close eye, dawn era, birth, early dominance. Imagine before time truly settled into its familiar flow, the dawn era, raw creation, Akatosh, the great time dragon shaped his children, Alduin, the world eater, destined to end one culpa and begin the next. And Paarthurnax, his name, even then meant ambition over adultery. He was born of domination, an aspect of time itself, made flesh and scale and fire, pure draconic supremacy flowed through him, a fundamental truth of his being. Alongside Alduin, he ruled the skies of ancient Skyrim. This was the Merethic era, shrouded in mist and myth. Mortals bowed. The dragon cult rose, priest kings interpreting the will of their scaled gods. Paarthurnax enforced Alduin's law. He saw the mountains raised by dragon voice, felt the trembling earth under the rule of his kind. He oversaw the Slava priests' crushed descent with talon and flame to mortals below. He was terror incarnate, a shadow blotting out the sun, a roar shaking the foundations of the world. He embodied the natural order, dragon above, mortal below. But even then, deep within that draconic soul forge for conquest, whispers friction, not open defiance, not yet a subtle unease, perhaps watching Alduin's cruelty grow beyond mere rule into wanton destruction, perhaps seeing the spark of defiance flicker in mortal eyes, a spark dragons believed in possible. Fragmented lore whispers in forbidden texts, like the Atlas of Dragons, hint at it. Paarthurnax, even in his dominance, question was absolute dominion right? Was Alduin's path the only path? These thoughts were heresy against his very nature, tiny cracks in an armor of certainty. To the dragon war, betrayal and revolution. Then came the breaking point. Mortals pushed beyond endurance, dare to dream of freedom, kind, the warrior wife, goddess of the storm And the spirit of the gnawed people saw their plight. She saw something else, to a crack in the dragon's armor. Paarthurnax. She reached out, not with force, but with an offer, packed hope against tyranny. She offered mortals the Thuum, the voice, the very power of dragons, and she offered Paarthurnax a choice aid, her teach the mortals betray his brother, his lord, the weight of that moment unimaginable, to go against everything. He was everything he knew, to embrace the heresy fully. Kind showed him a different path, a path mortals could walk, and he chose them. His betrayal was absolute. He revealed the secret, not just any shout, but dragonrend, a shout born of mortal understanding, utterly alien to dragonkind. It forced dragons to comprehend mortality, their own and their own insignificance. It was agony, was vulnerability. Paarthurnax taught this torment to the first tongues. He showed them how to wound Alduin, not just physically, but deep within his immortal soul. He turned Alduin's greatest strength, his timelessness, into a weapon against him. The final act unfolded on the sacred slopes of the throat of the world. Paarthurnax stood not with Alduin, but beside mortal heroes. Like Hockner Deathbrand, he guided them, aided them as they wielded an elder scroll, that artifact of immense, unfathomable power. Together they didn't slay Alduin, that was beyond their power. Instead they tore him from the present, hurling him through the currents of time itself, banishing him to an uncertain future. The dragon war ended, Alduin was gone. Paarthurnax the betrayer stood amidst the ruins of draconic rule, the architect of his brother's downfall and his own kind's defeat. 3. The long exile, guardian of the throat, victory. But what then? Paarthurnax was an outcast twice over to dragons. He was the ultimate traitor to mortals. He was still a dragon, a reminder of terrifying oppression. Where could such a being go? He chose the mountain, the throat of the world. The site of Alduin's banishment became his sanctuary, his prison, his monastery. Here, around the first year 140, he founded the way of the voice. He established the Greybeards, Jurgen Windcaller, the greatest master of the Thuum. After the war found him, learned from him, embraced his philosophy, that the voice should be used for worship and glory of the gods, not for war or domination. Paarthurnax became the hidden master, the old one, whispering wisdom. From the summit mortals ascended the 7,000 steps, seeking enlightenment, guided by his unseen presence. He retreated into myth, a name murmured with reverence and fear. His greatest battle, however, raged within every single day. Millennia past, empires rose and fell below. Alessian, Riemann, Tiber, Septim, shouting continents into submission. Daedric princes invaded during the Oblivion crisis. Skyrim tore itself apart in civil strife. Paarthurnax watched. He saw it all from his lonely perch. He never intervened, not directly. His philosophy demanded mortals shape their own destiny, bear the consequences of their choices, trust them to find their way even through darkness. But his nature, his draconic soul, screamed for dominance, the urge to command, to control, to rule. It was the air he breathed, to fire in his belly. Overcoming it wasn't a victory won once, but a battle fought every single moment of his eternal existence. He meditated, he contemplated the sky and the stone. He wrestled with the Dova, the dragon. Within him fragments of this struggle appear in Greybeard teachings, cryptic scrolls hinting at his torment. Darker whispers suggest Hermaeus Mora, the Daedric prince of Forbidden's knowledge, holds Forbidden's texts detailing Paarthurnax's internal war, the sheer grinding effort of millennia spent mastering his own terrifying potential. He became a philosopher of restraint, his wisdom forged in the crucible of resisting his own essence for Skyrim's crossroads. Mentor to the last Dragonborn centuries, bled into the Fourth Era Skyrim, simmered with rebellion and imperial strife. And then Alduin returned, the World Eater hurled forward. Through time descended upon Helgen. Paarthurnax felt it, the ancient enemy, the brother he betrayed, the doom he helped postpone now. Crashing back into the present, and with Alduin's return another emerged, the last Dragonborn, mortal flesh, dragon soul, a paradox, Tamriel's final hope. Paarthurnax broke his millennia-long silence. He revealed himself directly to this Dragonborn. He recognized the pivotal moment, the convergence of prophecy. He saw in the Dragonborn not just a weapon against Alduin, but the potential embodiment of the balance he had spent ages contemplating. He became mentor guide. He revealed the truth of Alduin's nature, his role as World Eater, not mere conqueror. He taught the dragonrend shout anew, passing the very weapon of Alduin's first defeat to this new champion. He guided the Dragonborn to the Elder Scroll needed to unlock the secret of Alduin's defeat. He pointed the way to Sovngarde itself, the Nordic afterlife where Alduin fed on stolen souls. And there in that mistroded hall of heroes, Paarthurnax played his final crucial role. He enabled the Dragonborn's triumph. He didn't fight Alduin directly. That was the Dragonborn's destiny. He facilitated, he empowered, he watched as the Dragonborn confronted Alduin not as a tyrant, but as a mentor enabling mortals to fulfill their own prophecy, to face their own doom and overcome it. Alduin fell, the World Eater was defeated. But Paarthurnax remained, and his fate hung. Suspended the blades, the ancient dragon hunters demanded his death, justice for the atrocities committed under his command millennia ago. They saw only the dragon, the past tyrant. The Greybeards pleaded for his life, recognizing the centuries of wisdom, the internal struggle, the vital role he played, and the Dragonborn held the power to execute him on the very mountain where he found redemption, to leave him to his eternal vigil, or perhaps to see in him the key to something new. Could Paarthurnax, the dragon who mastered himself, teach others of his kind? Could he be the bridge to a future where dragons and mortals found a different path? This future, like the mist swirling around the throat of the world, remained shrouded, resting solely in the hands and the conscience of the one who shared his soul. The old one waited, his long story reaching yet another crossroads high above the world. He helped shape, listen, that moment on the throat of the world, when Arnger's low voice tells you what Delphine demands. That chill isn't just the wind biting through your furs, it cuts deeper. Part of the blades, unbreakable hatred. Think about where the blades come from, not spies, not bodyguards. Not originally, they were the dragon guard Akatosh's own hand, chosen to hunt the children of his blood who ran wild. Their very soul was forged in the dragon war. It wasn't just battles. Listen close, it was villages erased and dragon fire screams choked by ash, mothers, children, homes gone. And at the head of that horror, Paarthurnax himself, Alduin's brother, his right hand. The tales passed down among the blades, they aren't glorious sagas. They're chronicles written in blood. They name him, they list atrocities. He wasn't distant, some vague threat. He was boots in the mountains, evil crushing rebellion, personally fire and claw. That pain is real. Generations deep Delphine carries that torch, not to her it's simple dragon evil. Period. A dragon might pretend wisdom, whisper philosophy, but the nature is rot. It can't change, it can't be redeemed. How can you look at the scorched earth your own eyes have seen caused by dragons and offer trust? How can you forgive something whose claws are still sticky with the ancestors of those you swore to protect. For her, your refusal isn't caution, it's betrayal of the blade's sacred oath of humanity itself. She doesn't just doubt Paarthurnax, she fundamentally rejects the very idea that a creature of such ancient malice could ever be anything but a threat waiting to strike. That demand kill him is not just strategy, it's the core blade doctrine, the ultimate act of cleansing. Part to the Greybeards' quiet mountain top now. Go back up the 7,000 steps, step into their silence. They didn't forget the dragon war jargon. Windcaller lived it, fought it, led armies. And what he saw empires crumble under the weight of shouting. The Thuum wasn't just power, it was devastation incarnate. Its misuse broke the world. That revelation broke him first, made him kneel on the slopes. He saw the way of the voice, restraint, wisdom, and waited for him who shared that hard-won truth. Not another gnawed sage, Paarthurnax, the very architect of the suffering that drove Jurgen to despair. Think on that for centuries upon centuries Paarthurnax has sat here, not plotting, atoning, teaching, meditating, fighting the dragon nature every single day. The fire in his blood still burns. Arngir tells you his voice grave, but the choice not to unleash it again and again, that's his victory. The Greybeards don't worship him blindly, they revere him because his existence is their philosophy, made flesh, redemption, mastery over base instinct, the power of discipline. At long, slow, painful change his scales hold the history of suffering he caused, yet his voice teaches peace, his very survival proves the way. Remove him, it shatters that fragile hard-won proof, crush hope itself. Arngir isn't naive, he faces his old master knowing exactly what the dragon did, what he fought for, but he asks you, does destroying the possibility of redemption, the safeguard against future dragons sliding back into tyranny, truly serve the greater good, or is it vengeance masquerading as justice? He hears Alduin's echo and holds it back. Who else could part through your mountain, your burden? And there you stand, Dragonborn, caught between wind and stone. Delphine, twist your loyalty, prove yourself. He must die. It's the final act. She frames assassination as duty, as the ultimate test of your commitment, not just to the blades, but to the world. She makes you feel faithless for even hesitating. It's clever fear-mongering. She knows the weight she asks you to bear. Arngir, voice softer than snow falling, offers doubt. He reminds you of the dragon beside you on the mountain, not the one in tales. He speaks of long roads, of choice, of potential. It's tempting, it feels quieter, wiser, but it feels dangerous. What if Hay's wrong? What if the millennia of calm are just a cold snake resting? Can anyone truly overcome the nature of a dragon lord of the first age? Can the horrors he committed ever be truly balanced? It digs into your conscience, then you choose. And the cut is brutal, there's no compromise. Walk back to Delphine with Paarthurnax scale. She spits bile, accuses the blade's refuge, slams shut to you forever. Your name is ash to them, or tell the Greybeards you killed their master. Arngir closes off, not with anger, with profound, cold disappointment. The gates of Irothgar lock their voices, silence to you. That permanent severing, it aches, it means something. Skyrim itself feels that rift, just like after the storm cloaks or the Legion, when brotherhood shattered, impossible to glue back together. Part for Skyrim's bleeding heart. Look at Skyrim now, the Greybeards atop the mountain, a whisper of the old imperial reverence for order, philosophy, restraint. The blades, their pure burning, gnawed vengeance, and I woven into their soul. Talos himself would likely raise a horn for Delphine's position. And the players, oh how we fight about it, forums, a light debates fiercer than dragon fire, justice cries. One side redemption cries, the other exactly like the Jarls arguing Ulfric or Tullius. It hooks us because it matters. It isn't blacksmithing levels, it's a truth question asked of us. Can Tamriel heal? Can we ever truly accept that someone monstrous can change, or does the blood always demand more blood? Can scars become stars? Paarthurnax stands on the mountain, breathing frost into the cold air, proof of the struggle inside every soul. Do you see the monster who burned thousands, or the teacher who spoke the way? Only you decide, and whichever answer you pick, a part of Skyrim breaks. That's the terrible heavy price of his existence. His breath alone splits the world. Dragons, you see, they are born from time itself, shards of Akatosh, fragments of the dragon god power hierarchy dominance. It's etched into their bones, burned into their very soul fires. It isn't just what they do, it is what they are. Immortal children of time, demanding worship, demanding submission. Think about it, their voice, the Thuum, it is truth. To speak is to command reality. No lies exist for them, only power shaping the world. Deception, moral gray areas. Such concepts flicker dimly in the pure blinding light of their existence, and Alduin loom over them, all the world eater, the pinnacle of their nature. His arrival meant one path: kneel or be consumed. To defy him for a dragon was like spitting into the storm. It felt like shredding the fabric of their own being. Then came kind, the Sky Mother. She reached down to the fleeting mortals, these small fragile sparks flickering against eternity, to help them stand against the sun-skulled tyrants. She gave them the voice. Think on that she shared the very soul fire of dragons. Now mortals could speak the Thuum. Suddenly these finite things with fleeting lives touched the dragon's own power. They brought concepts utterly alien. It dove us souls free. Will choice the path of the whisper, not the shout. They felt the terror of time ending. They understood sacrifice, mercy, jura, and the ultimate weapon against dragon arrogance, dragonrend. That shout didn't just harm, it inflicted understanding. It forced the immortal mind bound to eternity to truly know mortality, to taste its fear, its ending, its crushing fragility. For a mind forged from timeless dominance, this was shattering utter chaos, swallowed into the dragon psyche. For Paarthurnax, caught in that storm, it was a wound that cut deeper than any blade. It didn't kill him, it awoke him. It forced a question into the core of his being. Is there another way? That awakening was the agony that birthed possibility, but the crushing weight of his nature never lifted. That dominance still rose like a dragon on the wing inside him, instinctual roaring to reclaim its throne. Ambition, greed, the urge to bend everything to his will. Paarthurnax names this his crane, his flaw, the monstrous truth. He carries it thrummed within him like a second heartbeat, constant, demanding, simply admitting. This dark urge lived on sharp and claw. That terrible self-awareness is the starkest proof that dragons aren't mere automatons. Their souls hold depths, complex currents beneath the glittering scales. They can reflect, they can know their own darkness, but knowing it is just the first step on an impossible mountain path. For 5,000 years Paarthurnax scale that impossible mountain. He chose Hrothgar, the throat of the world, kind, sacred land. He chose isolation, the thin biting air, the eternal snows, the terrible silence. This isolation became his forge here. He could strip himself down, away from rivals, away from the raw instinct to dominate any creature he saw as lesser. Imagine that fire inside him burning white hot beneath the ice snow. Distractions, just his own consuming nature screaming at him daily. 10. There were the mortals, the Greybeards, gentle souls enveloped in the power to shatter mountains. They became his constant reminder, his anchors, calm human eyes gazing back at him, their fragility a rebuke to his ancient might. He had to commune with them, guide them, resist every fiber of his being screaming to subjugate their sparks. Restraint became his daily prayer, understanding their short precious lives became his meditation. He learned the weight of fragility measured in decades, not eons. He saw the courage of a candle flickering defiantly against the blizzard. So you finally climb the 7,000 steps. You stand before this legendary figure coiled on the ancient stone scales, whispering against stone eyes older than empires, and his answer comes, yes, it is possible. Redemption is possible. An ancient dragon can choose differently, but it's never over. That choice isn't a shield you raise once, it's a weapon you must wield every second of every day. The urge to crush, to dominate, to rule, it never dies. It breathes beneath his scales. His past isn't forgiven, merely challenged every moment with fragile mortal choice. Repentance isn't a sanctuary, it's a battlefield under the throat of the world's cold sun, and he stands guard there, eternally at war with himself. He calls it the way of the voice, a path away from the tomb as a weapon toward something quieter, something more. And then there's you, Dragonborn. You stand there breathing that thin air. You feel the dragon soul blazing within you, wrestling against the fragile cage of your mortality. Akatosh blood roars in your veins, to Alduin's shout echoes somewhere deep within your spirit. The potential for tyranny, for absolute power corrupted. That lure, it's yours as much as it was Lupercal's. You could crush this world as easily as any Dova. Yet your human heart beats beneath the Dova's soul, feeling love, doubt, fear, empathy. Paarthurnax isn't just a test of your mercy. He's your mirror. He proves the terrifying possibility, even that primal dragon fire can be directed. It doesn't have to consume his existence. Asks you the hardest question. What path will your dragon soul take? Devakian, will you master it or let it master the world? He offers a devastating alternative to the expected slaughter. Spare him and the dragons clinging to the bitter, and they could learn this new path to hit. Teach them here on this mountain. The unchanging Dova could find a different shape, guided by Durin, now touching their own kind. He stands on that ancient stone peak, an impossible idea made flesh and scale. He stares back at the cosmos itself, a fragment of the time God choosing every day to fight his own divine nature. With messy, struggling flesh burned free, while he embodies the core conflict of this whole swirling mythic dream world, the endless aching clash between what was written in the stars, the deterministic flashpoints designed by gods and princes, and that small, fierce, often inexplicable spark that flares nonetheless, that spark saying no, that spark choosing the whisper over the fire. Can even a fundamental piece of creation like the dragon change? Can anything truly escape what it was made to be? Paarthurnax sits on the mountain, breathing the cold air of 5,000 choices, and offers a simple, terrifying answer. Perhaps we can all try, even dragons, especially you, Paarthurnax. After Skyrim whispers on the wind, warm, reflective, sharing intriguing secrets with a close friend. So the Dragonborn is gone, Alduin is defeated, the world breathes again. But up there high on the throat of the world, the choice remains hanging in the thin air. Paarthurnax's fate beyond that moment on the mountain belongs to us, to our hopes, our fears, the stories we tell ourselves. Let's explore those whispers on the wind, shall we? I, the guardian eternal, the simplest path, the most serene. He stays right there on the ancient stones, where the snow never truly melts, where time itself bled Once flesh of Akatosh meeting ancient wound, he watches, he meditates, he guides the Greybeards not with roars, but with quiet words carried on kind's breath, a silent sentinel forever watching the bones of the world, the ultimate Greybeard, truly knowing him that peace would be precious hard one. But think for a moment, generations pass, a power-hungry high king rises, craving dragon bone glory and overlay. Zealous Dragonborn arrives, deaf to the way of the voice, seeing only wings and scales and power to claim that fragile peace shatters like ice under a warhammer. He becomes a target again. The choice we made in that moment echoes down centuries, forcing another mortal to pick up a blade. His vigil could be eternal, or it could forge the next great conflict. The mountain offers sanctuary, but also a stage to the dragon philosopher king. After millennia, as Kinbane could he become Kinshawn, dragon teacher. The way of the voice isn't just for men and mere imagine wings beating across the Gerald's tracking. Clusters of Dove soul survivors come by Alduin's fall, or just lingering at the edge of time. He finds them, offers not domination, but contemplation, not the Thum as weapon, but as tool, as understanding. We saw the potential in Odaving respect, not just slavery. Old whispers hidden deep in Skyrim's code speak of ideas like this, quests where he would summon lost kin for retraining, reform. What would a dragon flight look like, shaped by Paarthurnax, our learned wisdom, not pacifist sheep perhaps, but thinkers, guardians, bound by philosophy, not primal hierarchy. The sage of the summit becomes the shepherd of skies, a radical reshaping of Dovan nature itself. It feels hopeful, daunting, but a future bright with possibility. Three ascendant, spirit of redemption perhaps. Paarthurnax doesn't walk the earth nor fly the skies forever perhaps. He dissolves into them. The throat of the world is sacred ground. Kind's breath is constant, swirling snow and whispered prayers. Akatosh wound pulses. They're a scar in linear time where past, present, and future bleed together. Paarthurnax is intrinsically tied to both, teacher of the voice, blessed of kind, meditator. At the time wound, he embodies the struggle against dragon nature, the soul's journey toward the light. He could become something more, apotheosis, dissolving into the mountain snows, becoming the cleansing wind, touching the time wound and merging with the flow of ages itself, a spirit of redemption woven into the very fabric of sky and time. Tiber Septim achieved godhood through mythopoeia, and Sheer will be coming. Talos, the Devakian's soul, is tied to Akatosh. Why not Paarthurnax, the dragon who absorbed mortal virtues through centuries of effort? He wouldn't sit on a throne in Aetherius. He would be the benevolent storm, the whisper reminding you strength doesn't require cruelty for the weight of old wounds. But the shadows linger, don't they? History rhymes. The blades Delphine and Espern survived. Others will join. The order doesn't vanish. Remember their purpose. Dragon slayers to them sparing. Paarthurnax was always a betrayal of the dragon war itself. Imagine a rebuilt Sky Haven temple decades later, an old Espern or a young zealous successor agitating, whispering, planning. Not a trap for one dragon, but a holy crusade. They climb the throat, not for counsel, but for war, a direct assault on the world's guardian himself. Pure fire and steel, suicidal likely, but the ripples of the ripples rallying other dragons who see Paarthurnax's survival as weakness, resurrecting the dragon war because peace was attempted. The cycle renews, tragic symmetry, a chilling echo of the past sparked by those sworn to prevent it, and the darkest whisper of all Paarthurnax himself warned, "You ask what is better, to be born good or to overcome your evil nature through great effort." He knows the beast is called deep. What if over centuries of isolation, observing petty mortal wars and intrigues below the dragon winds that Alduin control phrase the ancient pride surfaces, that deep hunger for domination subsume, but never destroy? He looks down at Tamriel, not with wisdom, but with the cold calculation of a predator observing weak prey. The Thuum bans nations, not storm clouds. Alduin sought to reclaim his rule. Paarthurnax he wouldn't reclaim, he'd seek dominion unlike anything Nirn has known. Powered by millennia of introspection, turn sour the world-eater's mantle passes not to an equal, but to his brother, the one who truly understands mortality's fragility. That's a terrifying, heartbreaking theory. The strength in silence. So why don't we know? Why does Bethesda keep his ultimate fate wrapped in mountain mist? Because the power isn't in knowing, it's in the question itself. That tragic choice on the mountain top, it belongs to you, to every soul who stood in that snow and felt the weight of millennia and mercy. Should we shackle that pin down a butterfly to declare his color fixed, forever defining Paarthurnax, and steals something vital? It invalidates the struggle you faced, your philosophy, your conscience eclipse forever the agonizing question at the heart of it. Will we hear distant echoes of him in future shores, perhaps traveling the deserts of Hammerfell, seeking clues in an old ruin? An exiled greybeard murmurs, a contradictory fragment of lower remnants of the blades nursing their old hatred, texts found in a sunken library, hinting at a mountainous sage from ages past, mere possibilities, whispers on the wind, never confirmation. That's how it should be. Paarthurnax, more than almost any other, embodies the beautiful, agonizing gray of the Elder Scrolls world, giving us a definite answer, washes away the texture. That gray is unresolved. Sky is his final potent gift to the legend. Mystery preserves the power of the choice. He carried up that mountain, ensures the debate, warms hearths for generations. His true destiny is to live on, forever posed on the precipice of greatness or ruin, wherever imagination takes flight, the final eternal meditation.